The Nashville Predators scored 10 goals, won 2 games in a row, and Captain Roman Josi is perfectly healthy. Okay, we're going to dive in with more nuance than that, but just let us have our day.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off our week shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders community and, of course, our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio and Friends. I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingan, and I'm an NHL reporter and host for the Hockey News.
I did not lie in the cold open, friends. The Nashville Predators won 2 games in a row. They did score 10 goals, and Roman Josi is back. But we're going to break it down and give you some nuance around that. The wins, the goals, they were against the Florida Panthers, basically their prospects in the preseason doubleheader. So on today's show, we're going to talk about the highlights and the takeaways from yesterday's doubleheader. Remember, preseason game, it's not the same. We're going to tell you what we learned from Roman Josi about his health struggles and where his health stands right now. We're also going to give you a health update on another very important defensive piece that left yesterday's second game and did not return. Because, Emma, that is what our nerves need when we're just trying to find a little new season joy. An injury in the preseason.
Hey, sure. Of course there's an injury in the preseason. Of
what
course
the flag nog. Yeah.
But yeah. I think, look, I think it was I hope I got this right. I think it was the St. Louis Blues Twitter account who posted this over the weekend. They said something to the effect of, remember everyone, it's preseason. So if we win, then everything counts and this matters and everything is going to be great. But if we lose, it's just preseason and nothing matters. So that's right. Kind of how I look at it, where it's like, yes, it's preseason. Yes, the games don't count. Yes, the Predators were playing against Florida's kind of B team, maybe C team at that point. But you know what I will say about getting wins early like that? It's still good for building confidence, particularly in the younger players. Players like Matthew Wood, for example, who had an excellent game in the second game yesterday. So I think there are positives to take away from it for sure. Even though like you can still acknowledge that no, they did not defeat the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, but they got a win and they did a lot of things very well.
Yeah. And I think that confidence piece actually this season is really important for some of these veterans too, because remember, unless you've blocked it out like we've tried, the veterans struggled last season. And so I think it was really helpful to be at home where the veterans are available to play in the doubleheader. A lot of times, and we saw this from Florida, this has happened from Nashville on the road in this doubleheader series as well. A lot of times the veterans just don't travel. That's, a huge travel day and it's a preseason game and it doesn't matter. But with the Predators at home, you have easier access to plugging in your veterans. And let's face it, man, those older guys, they needed to get back out on the ice, back at Bridgestone Arena, back in front of the crowd and try to get some good mojo going. So I do think, like you said, it really doesn't matter, except it does. So it's Monday and we will proclaim our joy. You did mention, I think, one of the biggest takeaways, and that was Matthew Wood had a goal and 2 assists in his game. Matthew Wood, I was telling you and I were talking about this off camera, and I think we've mentioned this on the podcast before. Matthew Wood appears to be just a very shy, more introverted person. And so doing media, it's just not for him. It just does not seem for Matthew Wood. Hockey is for him. But I will say we got Matthew Wood after the second game, and it was so delightful to see him come in and just be so confident after playing and performing as well as he did. That confidence just carried over in talking with the media. We had such great conversations with him. Downside, he's much taller than I am, and the cut he sustained, the big, open, bleeding gash, like staring right up at it. But I'm good with blood, so I was fine. But it was great, Matthew Wood. Fabulous performance.
Yeah, no, blood is fine. It's bones and limbs pointing in wrong directions. I'm not
Yeah.
as good with that, but
Yeah.
blood is fine. Yeah, I think it's, and it was funny. It was one of the goals that he scored, or one of the goals, the only goal he scored. It was
Mhm.
like it was taken away from him, and then it
Yes.
was given back, or and then taken away, then given back, and it was like, okay, who scored it? But
Yeah.
that is kind of one thing where I will say it's like, again, not to be the downer, because we are having our joy right now, but
Mhm.
it was, now I can't remember, it was Wood and Forsberg, and there was a third person, now I
Martin
can't,
was centering them.
Martin, and all three of them at one point, like they had the shot and they all passed to each other, and it's like, fellas, someone has to shoot it. And I think that, so that's one of the things where it's like, again, I'm not, you know, proclaiming doom and gloom right now, because it was one preseason game, one shift of one preseason game, but I think that that line, it was,
Mhm.
you see a little bit of the future, or what the future should be,
Yes.
because you've got your veteran in Forsberg, and then you've got the two younger pieces. But it's like, okay, so we've got some good distributors here. Um, someone needs to be the finisher. Someone
Be
needs to score.
selfish.
Yes, and that is where someone like Joachim Kimmel, for example, I
Mhm.
think if he can find his game and, slot in on one of the, in the somewhere in the top 6, I think that's going to be important. Because that's kind of his
Yes.
gem, is to finish. And so I think that, you saw a little bit of, and obviously Forsberg can
Can.
score goals. He's only the franchise leader in goal scoring, so I guess he can. But so it's one of those things where maybe he's trying to give the younger players a
Yeah.
chance, maybe. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like, all right, guys, we get it. You're all really good at passing the puck. Now let's put it on
Step
the net.
2. Step 2. It was
Yeah.
really interesting to talk to Andrew Brunette post game about that line of Forsberg, Martin, and Wood. And what Bruno noticed from them, of course, was the on ice portion. And they really played well together. And you can see the NHL level of game for Wood. You can see that for Brady Martin as well. But what Bruno took away from that was on the bench. And he said how much he loved Forsberg constantly communicating, talking with them, pointing things out. The quote that Brunette said that made me laugh is he said, "It reeks of leadership." And I thought, okay, that's better than what a lot of hockey players reek of.
It's gonna say the stench of
The
leadership. That's what you want.
stench of leadership all over Philip Forsberg. So it was great to see them together. Of course, not likely to be a line that we see in the regular season, but man, Matthew Wood, we see you, friend. We
Yeah.
see you. The other combination that I think we have to talk about when it comes to the offensive piece, the line of Michael Bunting, Eric Halla, and Jonathan Marchessault. While it is not the dream line that Emma and I had of Bunting, Halla, and Zach LaRue, those 3 veterans have come into camp and decided that they're done not playing well, and they are cooking. Bruno said that they have been by far the line that has led in camp and set the tempo in camp, and they did that again in the game. So that was a really interesting line. I'm curious to see if we see that in the regular season and why he doesn't listen to us. But I guess if you're seeing that, maybe you do your own thing, Bruno.
I mean, I could see it. I think Marcia So switching Marchessault for Leroux, which was in our head what the perfect line would be. I mean, very similar type of player, with a little more goal scoring touch. So I think that's, I could see it. The only thing, again, and this is me, I think too far ahead sometimes, but it's like,
drop it.
Maybe now I'm concerned, not concerned. I'm observing with one eyebrow raised this line and how well they've done. It's early, but how well they're doing. Does this mean, like, you don't have Jonathan Marchessault on your third line?
I've wrestled with that watching
So I'm
this.
like, does this mean this is the second line? Fedor Svechkov is going to be your third line center. Now, it's not the end of the world. It's not like you're benching him, but still, I'm like,
it's not what we thought.
No. So I'm like, again, one eyebrow raised. Of note.
Of note.
We'll be monitoring that moving forward.
Erik Haula had 2 goals. Erik Haula had 2 goals. He said, he has told us in training camp, look, I had a bad season last year with New Jersey. Teams don't trade you for no reason. And he really has come in with a chip on his shoulder. So been great to watch them. Coming up, if Nashville wants to be successful in the regular season, they are going to need all of these players going well. But the player they're going to need the most, a healthy Roman Josi. Last week, Roman Josi opened up with us about his health struggles. We're going to tell you the symptoms that he was experiencing, the timeline of all of that, which might surprise you, and how he is feeling headed into this season. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It is an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you have put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDON NHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with our code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, Emma, it was so great yesterday to get to see some of the veterans. And of course, I think everybody in Nashville has been ready to see Roman Josi get back on the ice. Of course, he missed a chunk of the end of the season after a hit by the Florida Panther player who lives in my backpack next to Corey Perry. Anyway, Roman Josi back, feeling well, and we got a chance to sit down and talk with him at training camp. News broke over the summer that he was diagnosed with something called POTS. It's postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And it has to do with the way that your body regulates, and now I can't think of the fancy medical word, but like the things that you don't think about, some parts of your nervous system that you don't have to think about, like it's like the blinking and stuff, the other parts. Look it up. This is not New England Journal of Medicine podcast.
I thought that was a very, very scientific medical explanation you just gave there. So I don't know what anyone would need to look up after that.
That's right. Roman Josi, if you would like a second opinion, just give us a call here on the blinking thing. If you have any blinky problems, he does not have blinky problems.
Hips we can talk about, but nervous system and blinking, maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe
there's a word for it for the thing, and somebody drop it in the comments so I don't have to look it up. There are things. Is it autonomic? I think it's autonomic nervous system. Thanks, but anyway, just drop it in the comments and don't be judgy. Okay, I know a lot of things. Theater major. I thought the conversation with Roman Josi at training camp was so interesting, Emma, because here is what is real: hockey organizations And thus, a lot of times, hockey players keep medical information so tightly under wraps. But I thought Roman Yosi was very open and pretty honest about what he was dealing with and the timeline and symptoms and what life looks like for him now. So I thought that that was a really interesting conversation, and I appreciated Yosi just being as honest as he was about what was going on.
Yeah. We, all the time we joke about it, but it's true that it's like upper body, lower body. We'll sometimes in media row joke about like he has an on the body injury, like it's somewhere on his body.
Located.
Um, and then and then there's nuance. It's like, well, is your back your upper? What if it's a lower back? Is it lower body, upper body? But
Yeah.
anyway, the point is, it was refreshing to see
Mhm.
him, and to be fair, he doesn't owe us that.
No,
I mean,
sure
it's,
doesn't.
uh, HIPAA and whatnot. He does not need to share all of his medical history, but I think it was helpful because, as we sort of alluded to, I think it's one of those things where you hear this big fancy medical term and it's like, oh my god, is Roman Yosi like walking towards the light? And it's like, no, it's actually, it's manageable, and
Mhm.
here is how I'm managing it. Now, he didn't go into, again, he doesn't need to, but didn't go into a ton of detail on like, here are the exact things that I'm doing to regulate this. But I mean, he did sort of speak in general terms. He's like, my diet,
Mhm.
taking supplements, and doing certain treatments and things like that, that he's been able to help treat it. Um, and I think that just did a lot for everybody's,
Mhm.
um, kind of nerves about it,
Yeah.
because I think, it was tough with the timing. He just drops this bomb like to a Swiss reporter in the middle of the summer. And then we have no access to him. We can't talk to him.
Right.
We don't know anything about it. So for like months, everyone's like, oh my God, Roman Yosi is falling apart. And it's like, well, we get a little bit more clarity, like
Mhm.
from straight from the horse's mouth, which is, it was good, I think.
Yeah. He knows how we worry. I appreciated that, Roman Yosi. You know how we worry. But
Yeah.
I thought a couple of takeaways that were very interesting for me. I think we all just made the obvious assumption that whatever issue he was dealing with was a direct result of the hit that he took in the Florida game, February 25th.
Although I will say,
Mhm.
he and like you said, that was an assumption that we all had,
Right.
but he did say, he actually, like, sort of confirmed that's not what caused it, but
Right.
that sort of aggravated it. So that hit did have something to do with it,
Yeah.
which
But
I thought was interesting.
I did too, because in my mind, it was, oh, he took this hit and then it triggered this issue, this condition that he managed. But he said he was having some very mild symptoms. And here's what I thought was so interesting. He said, as an athlete, you tend to self-diagnose. And the symptoms that he shared that he experienced were things like minor headaches, maybe a little spike in heart rate, sometimes a little dizzy standing up, more fatigued than what he was used to. But as an athlete, when you hear those symptoms, you think electrolytes, you think, you know what I'm saying? Like, you do tend to be so in tune with your body that you feel a little something off and you say, okay, from all that I know about how to take care of myself, here are the things I'm going to do. When he took that hit and was out, he was then able to take the time to really dive into, here are these little things that are a little bit off. What are they? And that's when he got this POTS diagnosis. Like you said, he talked about there's a lot of things that he does to keep himself well, to manage the condition. And I mean, so many Americans live that way. You do certain things to manage conditions, and that's what Roman Yosi is doing. He went through a long rehab process. He talked about it's a whole body approach to staying healthy and being on top of these symptoms. I will say that what we have seen, the small sample size that we have seen in training camp, what we saw in the small sample size in the preseason game last night, Roman Yosi looks great. And he says he feels very good. going in. And I haven't seen anything that makes me go, oh, Roman Yosi, looking like you got pots.
Yeah, because we know pots when we see it.
I mean,
Clearly.
come on. All that blinky
Uh,
thing.
No, and he said on the first day of camp, he said, "I feel 100%,"
Yeah.
and we have no reason to doubt that.
Yeah.
He's not just said it, like you said, he's gone out and he's proven it. Just playing like Roman Yosi, and
Yeah.
that's huge. I think it is still something. It maybe makes you appreciate him a little bit more
Mm,
as one of the oft underappreciated defensemen in this game. Now the Predators certainly appreciate him. I mean, we talked to
yes.
Philip Forsberg at camp, and he said, "Well, you saw what happened when we didn't have him." Um, Now, that's not to suggest that Roman Yosi being gone for half the season was the
The
only reason
problem.
that they struggled, but it certainly didn't help.
Yeah.
And so um I think it's huge having him healthy, having him around, and having some clarity as to what exactly this condition is, and that
Mhm.
it's not something that's, again, he's not walking toward the light right now. It's just, it's something that we can manage and
Yeah.
feel good about.
Yeah. And I love that he was forthcoming about this just because I think it is a great reminder for all of us regular people who are not out in the world Roman Yosieing. Listen to your body and pursue information, because the word he kept saying is clarity. It was so important to him to have clarity on what these things were and why they were happening so that he learned how to manage them. And that is what his life is right now, and he is looking good on the ice, friends.
Yeah, that he said clarity and he said relief a lot.
Yes.
He was like, I feel more relieved than anything to know
Yes.
what this is, because like the devil you don't know is worse than the devil you do know. And I think it's better now that he knows. It's like, all right, we know what we're trying to address here
Yeah.
and how to sort of tailor treatment towards that. So I think it was definitely, like you said, a very good reminder
Mhm.
to advocate for your. So that I was not expecting to, be on this soapbox
Take it
right now,
home.
but
Take it
you
home, girl.
advocate for your health. You know your body better than anyone else, so advocate for yourself in
Yes.
the health space, and that's all I will
Absolutely.
say.
Absolutely. We don't have much concern about Roman Yosi's health going forward. Here is what we are a little concerned about now. Roman Yosi's defensive partner. Coming up, we'll tell you what we do and don't know about Nick Hague. Today's episode is brought to you by our great friends at FanDuel. The NFL season, friends, it is here, and FanDuel is making sure you are ready for every single kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You're going to love FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, whether it's those player props, building that same game parlay, or jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's going to make every game that much more exciting, whether you're watching your favorite team or keeping up with that fantasy lineup. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting fanduel.com to get started. That's fanduel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Emma, feeling good about Roman Yosi. We got to see in game one Brady Shea with Nick Perbix together. We've seen them together most of camp. And then we have seen together in camp, most of camp, Yosi paired with Nick Hague. And it's been really fun to watch these two new defensemen come in, working with the veterans, kind of learning some more about the system. And then in the second game, friends, I don't even want to tell you if you didn't know, but I'm going to have to just tell you because it's our job to keep you up to date. With less than a minute to go in the second period, Nick Hague went into the boards with a Florida player, hashtag pray for that Florida player. And came out, looked in some sort of discomfort, skated to the bench, down the tunnel, and did not return in the third period. So, of course, media, our first question after the game, what is the update on Nick Hague? The team did not have an update immediately after the game on Hague's situation. They are hoping to get an official word after looking at him a little bit longer, and we'll get an official word from the team likely sometime tomorrow afternoon, or it may even be after the game tomorrow. Emma, it's been really fun getting to know a little bit more about Nick Hague in training camp and talking with him. And I will say this is one comment that I thought was really fun. Nick Hague, of course, we talked with him at training camp playing with Yosi, and he said, look, I'm not unfamiliar with Roman Yosi. Everybody knows Roman Yosi. But he did say there were a couple brief moments where he would just kind of watch him do something in training camp. And he'd be like, oh, he's Yosi right there. So, but they have worked really well together. This is something Barry Trotz emphasized, getting bigger. Hague is the king size candy bar on Halloween. Seeing him go out with potential injury, Emma, it's just not for me. So what do the Predators do if, and we're not even don't even listen to this, but just if Nick Hague has to miss a couple games at the start of the season? What do we do besides drink?
Oh, bless it. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing where it's like, oh, we're all worried. Oh, is Roman Yosi going to be able to play? It's like, well, now we know he can play. Who's he going to play with? And so
we
I
wanted
think
Nick Hague, y'all.
we wanted Nick Hague. We wanted a steady, consistent defensive partner for Roman Yosi.
Yeah.
Ideally, a more traditional stay-at-home defensive partner to free up Yost to go do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I mean, we have talked about this a lot where it's like there is no shortage of defensemen in the pipeline here for Nashville. That being said, you might get a little pickier about who you want to play on your top pairing with Roman Yosi. I, for one, would not split up Perbix and Shea.
No.
Just because that's who you want to be together the rest of the season. Ideally, you want them to get as many reps together as possible. So I would not split up that pairing to, take from that pairing to put up top with Yosi. So that leaves you with one of the many defensemen sort of down at the bottom. So it's like I could see maybe an Adam Wilsby, maybe a Justin Barron, God help us all, but maybe a Justin Barron. And maybe, again, we've talked about it before, but it's like Nick Blankenberg, really not someone who you want to be your top pairing defenseman in the NHL, but it's like, well, at least now you've got someone with experience doing that. So I guess that's good. But
yeah,
it's even if you put Blankenberg or Barron, then Yosi switches back over to the left side, which again, he's done throughout his career. So I'm not concerned about his ability to do that, but still it's just a lot of moving parts. And so if it were me, like if I were to learn, okay, Hague is gonna miss however long, my first instinct would say to put Adam Wilsby up top with Roman Yosi.
Yeah. He has looked incredible in camp, Wilsby.
He has.
My gosh.
And so I'm like, that's maybe where I would go with that. And then once Hague is back, you put Wilsby on the third pair with Justin Barron. To replace Wilsby on the third pair with Justin Barron, that's when you go like a Jordan Osterley, maybe, as like your seventh defenseman, but he could play that role perfectly fine. So yeah, I don't know. Again, they have bodies. They have the bodies.
They do.
But we've talked about how important it's going to be to find consistency and have a strong start. And I am not at all trying to suggest that the absence of Nick Hague the potential absence of Nick Hague is going to cause this entire team to fall apart. But it is just something worth noting that, like, something you want to find early with this
Mhm.
team is consistency, and injuries don't allow for that. So hopefully, again, like you said, team had no update, but I mean, it is preseason, which allows us to, at least for now, hang on to the hope that this is
Yeah.
something where it's like precautionary. We just, he got a little banged up. We're not going to risk it. We're just going to keep him out. Um, I think I briefly mentioned Nick Blankenberg, but he
Mhm.
got crunched up in that second game too, I think, where he
Yeah.
had to leave. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we don't have to panic yet. It could be precautionary. They've got a day off today.
Yep.
And then, so that's good. I mean, good for guys healing up and resting. And so hopefully we'll get some more clarity tomorrow.
Mhm. It is of note. We're not speaking anything over Nick Hague. We want him to come back. And I really want him to be back quickly because, again, they're still learning each other and learning to play. I do want to highlight a moment that happened after the Hague injury with Roman Yosi out on the ice. And friends, this is not something that happens a lot with every defenseman. This is such a Yosi-ism. But the Predators were in the offensive zone and there was a puck battle in the corner and it was going on for a while. It was taking some time. And Spencer Stasny had been out on the ice with Roman Yosi. And so he went off to change and on comes Andrew Gibson. And all Gibson does is yell, "Yos!" And Roman Yosi leaves one side and skates to the other, and Gibson slots in. And I'm like, that is Roman Yosi right there. Just all you have to do is say, not even his full last name, friends, just Yos. And he switches sides and they go on about their business. So just it's an interesting situation. You want Hague back, like you said, for consistency, for chemistry, just getting up to speed. And they are making some changes to what they're asking the defense to do. So, Yosi is learning some of these tweaks at the same time that Hague is picking up what Andrew Brunette is looking for. So you really want to get him back. There's also a lot of depth. There are a lot of bodies, and some of these defensemen have really played well. Spencer Stasny had a really strong game. He's had a very, very good camp. Came in much bulkier. He did more than lift our W2s in the offseason, friends. Like, he is bulky. He is really bulked up. And he has had a really good camp. You've got Andrew Gibson. We have not seen Tanner Mullendijk. Still, he's off the ice, lower body injury. Cam Reed, lower body injury. But like you said, you've got Blankberg, you've got Englund, you've got Osterley. Adam Wilsby knocking my socks off. I know we only saw him like 25 games last season, but he is just having the camp of his life. Just incredible. He's been incredible. And so physically strong and skating well. Like, so there's a lot of pieces defensively that you can move. I just really would like it to be what we wanted it to be. We don't need surprises.
Yeah, like you said, we have the bodies. That's great. But you want to see consistency. And I think also going back to that Andrew Gibson, Roman Yosi moment and how just seamlessly Yost just slid over to the other side. Again, underappreciated. Yes, people will try to downplay it all the time, be like, these guys are professional athletes. Playing on
Ain't you
one side versus
being
the other isn't that big of a deal. In the grand scheme of things, no, it's not. But to be able to seamlessly transition like that in a game, that's a lot on you, not only physically, but mentally, just how you
Mhm.
read the game and which side you open up to, where you're taking your shots from. I mean, everything changes on a dime. And so I think that again, underappreciated Roman Yosi.
Yeah.
And we know that he can do it, which is fantastic. Also, just shouting out that, I mean, it seems simple, but that communication, we love to see that on ice
Yes.
communication. All it is yelling his name or half of his name,
Yeah.
and that's all it takes. It's like, all right, I look up, I see Andrew Gibson. All right, he's a right shot, so I'm going to move.
Yep.
And so it's good to see that communication above all else, because again, coming
Key.
back to chemistry and knowing where guys are going to be, it's important. It's important to set that precedent now during camp.
And I just want to add to what you were saying about Roman Yosi doing this so seamlessly. It's not only that he can play both sides, it is the level of excellence at which he does everything. Can all defensemen play both sides? In theory. Can all defensemen play both sides like Roman Yosi does? No. Most defensemen can't play their strong side the way Roman Yosi does. So, he's out there Yosiing. It's been great. It's been great to see. Also, shout out to Andrew Gibson. He's one you and I have talked about. We really like him. I have a piece coming out on Andrew Gibson. He told me the most interesting story. I'm just going to say, I'm going to tease it because, that's what we have to do. Jersey swap as a 10-year-old that foreshadowed his future with the Nashville Predators. He told me this story and I literally was like, you are too nice a young man to be lying about this. And he was not lying. So anyway, another one to keep in mind. I'm telling you, Ryan Ufko looked great. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the defense sorts out. Andrew Brunette said, look, this is a great problem to have. Not the Nick Hague injury, but just that the pool is large and the competition is elevated. So some encouraging things out of a situation we're not big fans of. Nick Hague, come back.
No, please come back. I will also say on the forward side, switching gears for a second, one guy who has really stood out to me in camp and just what little I've seen, Cole O'Hara looks fantastic.
My gosh.
He looks fantastic.
Fantastic.
So of note, I actually got to see him play at UMass his final season there. I went with Jeff Kelty to scout a game at UMass and I got to see him there. And so this was my first time actually seeing him play in person since that, which was 2 years ago now. He looks fantastic. So
yes,
again,
Cole O'Hara has looked so good in training camp. He played on a line with Ryan O'Reilly and Steven Stamkos. And Andrew Brunette was very clear when he talked about roster construction. Yes, you want to see different combinations, but you also want to reward young players who have put in the work with the opportunity. And that is exactly why you saw Cole O'Hara where he was. Under the radar guy, we don't talk a lot about, we don't hear a lot about, but Cole O'Hara, he just minding his business, doing his thing. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, been some really interesting players standing out at training camp. Of course, Emma and I are going to keep you up to date as training camp continues. Today, a day off for the Nashville Predators. Tomorrow, they have a preseason game at home against the Tampa Bay Lightning. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk some more about what we want to see from the players, what we expect to see maybe from the lineup as well. Of course, we'll keep you updated on Nick Hague. We'll keep you updated on Tanner Mollendijk, Cam Reed, Zach LaRue out for 2 days of maintenance. Who am I to judge? So yeah, we'll keep you up to date on everything we're hearing from the Predators as they get ready for another preseason game against the Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow night. Emma, before we log off today on this Monday of, I'm sorry, the Nashville Predators scored 10 goals and won 2 games back-to-back, and Roman Yosi looks amazing. Will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
Yes, you can find me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work, including a great piece about Andrew Gibson at Penalty Box Radio as well. Friends, that is going to do it for this Monday episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks again so much for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow talking more Preds preseason. We'll see you then.